Well, welcome everyone to the Bowling University studio from the International Bowling Campus here in Arlington, Texas. Welcome back to the Profit Break. Now, if you're joining us for the first time, we're glad you're here. Give us 15 minutes and you're going to be well on your way to improving yourself and your profitability. Now, on today's show, we're going to talk to Miss Vera Jones. She is the Empathy Coach, who is a speaker, coach, author, award-winning TV and radio broadcaster, and Syracuse University Hall of Fame basketball player. And as a women's basketball analysis reporter, she's worked for all the big names, ESPN, Fox Sports, NBA TV, and the Big Ten Network. Now, despite all of those accolades, her greatest journey of all is the one she's taken with her incredible son, and we're going to learn a little bit about that today. So, Miss Vera, thank you for joining us.
Bart, I am super excited for being here, so thank you for having me. This is a neat little show you've got going on. It's taking me back to my broadcasting days.
Yeah, well, thank you again. Now, look, we can't wait to have you with us in January. You're going to be our keynote speaker at Summit. But today we're going to learn a little bit about you, a little bit about your incredible story. But before we get into the heavy stuff, I know you're a bowler. I know you can play some ball. But tell us a little bit about your history with bowling.
I used to be a bowler. And what's interesting about bowling is it really was, when I thought about it, it was my first sport because my mother and father both back in the 70s, I'm dating myself, bowled. They were both in a bowling league through, I think, my father's fraternity and had been for many years. So coming up, we were just the 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds kind of dragging it behind our parents. And then when they got us started, I was probably about 5 or 6, I guess, and we did the duck pin bowling. And so it really was my first sport. I often tell people it's basketball, but it wasn't. It was bowling. Good.
Well, I knew there's a reason we loved you. I'm going to have you with us there. So glad to hear about that tie to our great sport. Now, you're a veteran broadcaster. You did it for quite a long time. How did that transition to becoming a motivational speaker that you do today?
Powerful words from my mother. And I'm not going to give away the whole story, but I will just say powerful words from my mother. It's part of the keynote that I do, but I had been a broadcaster, almost 30 years at that point. And it was really my mother just telling me I was missing my calling. Just one night she sat down and said, you know what, you should give all of this up. And I'm like, I've been doing this for, my entire life. What are you talking about? And the rest is what the words were very powerful that she said to me. And the story behind it is a big part of what I share on stage. And a huge piece of that, I guess, that I can share is just that I always ask people, what did your words do today? Because they can prove to be so powerful that they're prophetic. And my mother's words changed my life.
Yeah, it's an incredible...
I became a broadcaster.
Yeah, it's a great story. We look forward to hearing it there. But you also, besides speaking, you also do a little bit in the coaching and training space. Tell us a little bit about what in those roles, what you're doing today.
The coaching space is, what's interesting is by being in sport, it really did set me up for coaching life, right? So I am a quote unquote life coach, but more specifically, the empathy coach, as you alluded to a little bit earlier. I do a lot of empathic leadership training with leaders. We all could be a little kinder, gentler, but more importantly, we all could be a lot more efficient. And when you learn how to drive people with empathy, being able to listen, really, really actively listen to understand the motivations of what makes people do what they do, it is life-changing from a leadership perspective and a relational perspective. So I do a lot of coaching there. And career development overall, wellness as well. Wellness is a big piece of it, self-awareness. And I do that both for corporate government and for individuals. I have people that just say, I need some help. I need someone to talk to, want to work through some things in my career. So I do that type of coaching as well.
Yeah, I tell you, if there was ever a time we could use an empathy coach, is in this post-COVID environment we're living in. So yes. we need you. We need you, Coach. Now's the time. Now, look, I know you're a big fan of goal setting, having read your book there. Can you share with us some tips today for the folks tuning in? What are some of your best practices? What do you recommend when it comes to just helping others achieve their goals?
This one is going to seem so simple and basic, and it yet is by far, at least in my experience, the most effective. Write it down. 42% of people find that they are more efficient when they write down their goals, and you're 42% more likely to achieve that goal. just by writing it down. Now, I thought this was me because I'm well past my 50th birthday and I just forget. I write it down because I forget a lot. But I do find, like, I'm actually starting a whole new business, and it's unbelievable how many objectives I'm writing down. And my other one that goes with it is I'm a checkbox person. I guess because I've got that competitive drive. I like at the end of my day or at the end of the week or even at the end of the month to be able to go back and count my check boxes to see how many I accomplished. It keeps you focused and it keeps you driven on attaining the goal. So those are my two best practices for me personally, and a lot of what I do to work with people on their goal achievement as well.
Yeah, Coach, you got to write it down. We say here at the university that success is really defined by goals, and everything else is just commentary, right? You got to write it down.
Yeah.
Doing that.
Yeah.
Now, love the book. Now I see. Had a chance to preview it before we got together. Very emotional story. Very, very heartbreaking, motivational story for you and your son. Don't want to give it all away. I know you're going to be sharing that with us when we see you in January. But tell us a little bit about what you hope attendees are going to kind of walk away with in learning more about you and your son and your story.
There's two big words, I think. It's significance and purpose. And I think that's what resonates throughout the book. We go through so many fouls in life. That's the terminology I like to use for when we're facing adversity and obstacles and challenges. And in the business world, it's no different, right? And COVID, you mentioned that. Huge, right? Huge foul. But sport and having that winner's mentality helped me in ways that I never even thought about in terms of how to overcome, play through the foul. That was another book, actually, how to rebound when adversity hits, right? Like, you're learning this. I've been learning that my entire life. So being able to give that back, whether it's in sport, whether it's through coaching or training or just through keynote speaking is huge for me to help people who may not have experienced that or may find themselves, maybe they did have a winner's mentality at one time in their life, but they've lost their significance. In other words, understanding how they make a difference. And they've lost their purpose, or maybe they never even knew what their purpose was. So I'm hoping that book kind of ignites that spirit of finding that significance and purpose again, and also finding the empathy of understanding that we could all make the world a more gentle place if we just care a little more about each other.
Yeah. So one of the things in the book that just really hit home for me, and I do want you to dig a little bit into this today, I know you'll go deeper in our time together in January, is you talk about the difference between sight and vision. And I found that to be so powerful. I'm not even going to try to recap how you covered it. Can you just elaborate that on a little bit for us today?
By far, Bart, that was my most profound lesson in what I call the blind life and leadership lessons. We function every day. Let me start this way. Sight is physical. It's that I see you, you see me. We trust things that we can see, but we don't always trust that thing that was placed inside of us, what I call vision, that we can't see. We can't. So a lot of times what happens, particularly in growth, in anything, in order to grow, you have to become very uncomfortable with with the vision. Right. We just want to be comfortable. I just only want what I already have. I only trust what I already see. It's the here and now, the present. I got to stay here. But in order to grow and get what you haven't had, it's not sight that moves you forward. It's having a vision to say, I think maybe I'm going to open up a second bowling center, or, I think maybe, the rules need to change. It hadn't happened yet. So it's not sight that we're really trusting. It's the vision, right? And vision really is faith. It's believing that which isn't currently can and will be. And I think that's the simplest way to say it. And so many people don't grow because they get hung up on their sight and not their vision. And when my son went through what he experienced, that I will reveal, a lot of people would come to me and they would say, I'm so sorry to hear your son lost his vision. And I would say, he didn't lose his vision, because as long as I'm here, I'm going to keep him focused on the dream, on moving ahead, on trusting that better things are coming. Right. And, he lost his sight. but he didn't lose his vision. And I think for all of us, that kind of applies. There are times that we lose our sight. What we see, we don't like. It doesn't feel good, but that's when it's time to trust the vision. And they are two totally different things.
Yeah, and it was well put and well written, and will be well spoken when you join us in January. There's so many of us going through life right now that may have perfect sight, but have no vision whatsoever in what they want to do. And
that's the other part.
Yeah, great thing.
You're right.
So this may not be a fair question, but you've been very blessed and a lot of great things in your life and even more coming. What's the favorite part? I mean, when you wake up in the morning and you're excited about the day, what's the favorite part of what you do?
You know what? I'm actually working on a new book called Leadership Success, and it's about empathy, basically, and the motivations that we have. And to give that away a little bit, there are 6 motivators, and they all start with the letter S, and I'm a significance. I'm driven by significance. There's an assessment test and all of that. I have been for a long time. My favorite part of what I do is connected to significance. It's knowing that I can do something, or I have done something that made a difference in the life of someone else. And when I know that, that's what gets me out of bed every morning. So my favorite part of being a keynote speaker, because I do probably 50 things, but my favorite part of being a speaker, believe it or not, is not actually running my mouth. Hard to believe. But it's when I step off and I start talking to people in the audience who say, oh my gosh, when you said this, it resonated with me, or I'm going through the same thing. You know, I'm a cancer survivor, or my sister lost her sight, and I hear those stories and I'm impacted and I'm inspired. And I know that by sharing the difficult stories or the challenges that I share, I can make a difference in the life of someone else. It's my favorite part of what I do, stepping off that stage and hearing that I made a difference.
Yeah. So, Coach, we're going to sneak in one more question before we let you go today. And you've got a lot going on. You mentioned about the new book. And besides joining us in January for Summit, which I'm sure is at the top of your list, what's next? What's next on your journey and mission and inspiring others?
I think I will continue coaching. I'm definitely going to continue speaking for as long as people will have me. And I think by launching this new book, there will be more additional training that's going to really, really help people in their self-awareness, help people tap into their gifts, their strengths, their talents, and then also help people tap into that purpose and significance I've been talking about, how they serve. Because once you tap into that, wow, I mean, you see a whole new beginning of success through that significance that you probably never even imagined before. So I'm excited about doing some of those things coming up.
Good. Well, we're excited about having you. I'm not going to challenge you to one-on-one or a bowling match, so we'll just, but thank you so much for carving out some time today, and we can't wait to see you in New Orleans.
Thank you, Bart. You would beat me probably at both now. Trust me on that. But, keep believing, and I can't wait to see you guys in January.
Awesome. Thank you so much there. So, folks, if you'd like to learn more about the empathy coach, Miss Vera, and her amazing son's journey, make sure you mark your calendars for Tuesday, January 16th, where Vera is going to be our Bowling Summit 2024 keynote speaker and share with us Now I See. Her book, Now I See, A Journey of Prophecy, Pain, and Purpose, is available at Amazon, and she'll have some with her on site as well. Now, if you can't wait to learn more about the Empathy Coach, you can visit her on her website at verasvoiceworks.com. Now, if you're ready to start improving your profitability, you can reach us anytime at education@bpa.com. As we wrap up another edition of the Profit Break, remember, when you're focused on growing people, people will grow your business. Now, this episode, as well as all our previous Profit Break episodes, are available 24/7 for you and your team at bowlinguniversity.net. Now, we have new episodes available every month. Mark your calendar, watch your email, join us on Facebook to hear about all the latest. Until then, I'm Bart Berger, and remember, do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. We'll see you next time.